Hi, I'm Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor. There's a quality that we need as property investors which I don't often see discussed. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen another video about this. There may be one out there, I just haven't seen it. I've certainly never seen any training courses on this. But the quality which I think that we need as property investors, amongst many other qualities by the way, is this. We need to have a fairly decent tolerance towards stress. Why do I say that? Well, I don't want to make this gloomy. I think property investing is great. I've been in property for 40 years. I've been investing for myself for the last 20 years. Would I change any of that? No, I wouldn't. It's given me a fantastic lifestyle and I love it. But there are times when you can feel a little bit stressed from it. Now, I'm just being completely open and honest. A lot of you have said that you like my sort of complete honesty type style, that I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Well, I'm not sugarcoating it for you. If you do property, there'll be times when you get stressed. I was thinking about this about 2 weeks ago, because on this one particular Friday afternoon, 3 things happened. Now, I have to say, this is unusual. Most of the time, everything's fine, but occasionally these things happen. So these are the 3 things that happened. The first is that the managing agent who looks after my HMOs for me rang me up and said that one of the tenants of one of the rooms had basically done a bunk and they'd run off with my furniture, including the bed, including the fridge, and there were various repairs that needed to be done to the room. How had they done that? I've got no idea. The agent said, expect a call from the police because we've asked the police to try and find this person. We think we know where they've gone. We're going to see if we can get your stuff back for you. I thought, well, good luck with that. I bet that's not going to happen. But that was event number 1. Second thing that happened that afternoon is that I got a call from my agent who's meant to be selling one of my flip properties. Now, this flip has been going through for a while, and without going into the longs and shorts of the story, because it's more long than short, but basically the legal transaction hadn't actually gone as smoothly as I hoped. And the buyer's solicitors particularly had been slightly awkward about the whole thing. The buyers desperately wanted to buy. I desperately wanted to sell. Well, not desperately, but I was very keen to sell. But unfortunately, the solicitors doing things that solicitors do, they had put a few spanners in the works, which meant that at this particular point in time, that afternoon, I thought I was about to sell the property, and I was told that that property wasn't selling. Now, the deal hasn't collapsed completely. We're now sort of like 2 weeks on, and we're still trying to sort of put it back together in a form that satisfies the buyer's solicitors, blah, blah, blah. Long story, won't go into it. It could still happen. But at the time, added to my phone call from the agents about the HMO, it was slightly stressful. The third thing that happened that afternoon was that I got a call from somebody about a JV which I'm involved in, and where I've put some money into the JV, and I was expecting the money to be paid back that afternoon. Now, as so often happens with the JV, things rarely run according to plan. There's quite often things which you can't foresee when you go into the JV. Best to go in with your eyes open, best to go in with an open mind, best to have some kind of an agreement with your JV partner which covers the what-ifs if that kind of thing happens. But it just so happened to be that on this particular afternoon, it had all seemed to be going quite smoothly, and I wasn't anticipating any problems. But at that particular point in time, there was a bit of a hiccup, and so what I thought was a sort of a dead cert of getting the money back didn't actually happen. So those were 3 things that all happened on the same Friday afternoon. Now, the thing about a Friday afternoon is probably the worst time to get any kind of news, because you've then got 2 days over the weekend where everything shuts down, and you can't really do anything to put it all right again. You have to wait till Monday morning. So you spend, if you're like me, you spend the whole of the weekend, come on, Monday, I can't wait till Monday, everything opens, and then we can actually do something about putting all the pieces back in the right place and getting it all sorted. And that's when I realised that one of the things which I think helps me in property, perhaps more than other people who perhaps decide they don't really like property, is that I think I've got a reasonable amount of tolerance to stress. I'm not the best at it, but I've got a reasonable amount of tolerance to stress, which means that I can cope. I try, and I've learnt over the years to educate myself not to take things personally, not to get over emotional about things, not to get sucked in not to allow my feelings, I'm a very feelingsy person, not to allow my feelings to try and override everything, because if I ran on my feelings and not on my thoughts in those instances, I probably wouldn't be able to cope. I've had to learn how to do that. It's not the natural way for me. Although I come across apparently as quite calm, I have the odd time when I rant a little bit. I have the odd time when I have a little emotional explosion. It can happen, and I've learned over the years in property, there's no point. And one of the things which I have learned in property is no matter how big the problem, it usually gets itself sorted out in time. It's just a matter of taking a deep breath and being patient and not letting it ruin your evening. So that Friday afternoon, I just had to chill. I had to let it all go. I had to wait till Monday before I could start doing anything constructive and really starting to make a difference to try and make sure all these things were resolved. So there we are, something to think about. If you want to be good at property, just think about how you deal with stress, because the better you deal with stress, the better you're probably going to do in property. Well, I hope you found that informative and inspirational. And if you want help in property, please do come over to my website, www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk. Loads of great resources there, including my blog. There's loads of free videos, loads of great articles. There's free reports to download, including Learning with Peter, where you'll be able to access resources like my video courses, like my ebooks, including my home study course, the Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, which I've literally sold thousands of copies of, which takes you through how I started in property, literally with none of my own money, but how I was able to build a portfolio of £2 million worth of property in just 4 years. I'll show you everything that I did right so that you can do the same, and I'll show you everything that I did wrong. I'll tell you about all of my mistakes so that you can avoid them, so that you can progress in property far more quickly than me. Until next time, here's to successful property investing.